Welcome to the 3 Life Lessons podcast, where I, Rob Hubbard, talk to renowned figures from learning and development to uncover the secrets to their success and find out what makes them tick. Remember to like, subscribe and follow to ensure that you never miss an episode. So, my guest here today, if you've met her, I think you would agree, she is something of a whirlwind. So, brimming with ideas, enthusiasm and energy, she has blazed a trail across L&D and beyond. Now, I know our guest as a regular speaker and chair at many L&D industry events in the UK, worldwide really, and she's also co-founder of Women in Learning. Now, this is an organisation that actively promotes women in roles of leadership and learning. Now, she's operated at the most senior levels for many organisations, large and small, and I'm certain we'll have some fascinating life lessons to share. So welcome, Sharon Claffey, Kaliouby.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate it, Rob.
Very, very good. So we've had a few technical issues today, but we're fighting our way through it, aren't we? So we're doing pretty well. Cool. All right. So my first question for you is, can you tell us what you're doing at the moment? What's your current role, and what's the route that you took to get there?
Well, at the moment right now, I've really taken the strategic approach to rounding out my career in learning and development with much more of an HR tech angle. So in the past couple of years, I've evolved into roles with organizations focusing on technology recruitment, retention, really looking at those 4 R's: recruit, retain, reskill, redesign. And in doing that led me to the development and working under like a network mindset where competing companies can come together in a very cooperative mindset, being able to build revenue and open marketplace stores, and doing that from the other edge of HR, really focused in the past several months on the area of evaluation. How do we make sure things are valued? How are we aligning to the impact, to the business impact of the organization? And probably just about anything, just looking at what some of your other speakers have said, really making the ROI and the value evident so that the value is also evident in regard to what's happening, not only under the bigger umbrella of HR, but within learning. So secret attempt to really round out. We're going to talk a little bit about that design and strategy when we do Women in Learning this April 23rd at Learning Technologies, really allowing ourselves to be prepared for the future that is exciting and evolving. And how do we do that is probably just give ourselves greater facets to move around so that we can still get the learning in there.
Yeah, fantastic. Always a very well attended event. A lot of energy around Women in Learning at every learning tech conference that I've been at, and yeah, a lot of that's down to the energy that you infuse it all with. So fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, Sharon, I'd like to ask you, what's the first life lesson that you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Okay, so I'm probably going to break a rule here, sorry. But I'm going to give all 3 right from the start.
All 3? Okay.
Yes. And I just have to say, if anyone else hasn't listened to the other recordings, prepping for this and just following you, Rob, in the past couple of years at least, this is a really good podcast. I'm not saying mine will be as great as the others, but
I'm sure it will
my
be.
3 life lessons would be, I've used it in business and life, and really was starting to think about it when you were chatting with me about this. Engage, educate, and empower. And no, this isn't a corporate response. Number 1, engage. And Craig Taylor, that you had speaking before, actually says how he just jumps in, his networking, risk-taking to a safe level. For me, the engagement is in life, in sport, in music, with family, with everything. You actually stated in one of the others that, I think with Joan Keevil, you hate wasting time, right? So engagement is really knowing, don't waste the time. And I think you worded it really well on the special world that we're all engaged in. We're here. We're like all together. And when I think about that, I think about engagement without limitation. As a woman growing up who just wanted to do, and I was always playing with the boys, and kindergarten and all that, being told not to, being punished for doing that. I was probably the first generation of girls that was allowed to play what you would call football or soccer. and I loved it. Was like mixed teams. I
Yeah.
think my first coach was Irish, and I scored on ourselves because I had never had the opportunity to play. Then I cried. So there's always going to
Oh.
be a female moment, for me at least, in regard to what I'm doing. But it
Mm,
was this attitude of being told I couldn't play hockey. I couldn't
mm,
play football, baseball, and I thought it was really well worded by my mom, who had done this even as a kid, played sports. Well,
mm,
there's no locker room for you. There's no locker room. What can we do?
uh,
You got to
mm,
change. So it didn't shift my ability to want to get involved in all of it. And because of that, I actually ended up fencing a weapon in the first women's nationals that allowed
mm,
women to
mm,
fence saber.
mm.
Saber's the slashy one. Well, we were allowed to
Uh-huh.
do the others, but for at least 2 years, I would sneak into competitions. I joke I had to be really bad looking because I just never used my first name and had the
Yeah.
mask on and
Yes,
short
of
hair.
course.
And because of that, we were able to do a composite, and I was there part of the first two gold medals in the U.S. Nationals that was
Wow.
allowed to do it. And now you see women and girls doing it at the age of 7, 8, 9. So I only say that because where we're at in business and what we're doing for women in learning really was driven by this attitude: engage with it.
Mm,
The other area that this really felt needed in my life was in school. When you're engaging, um, it's not called what we call it in the workplace
mm.
collaboration. It's called cheating. So, as anyone that knows me, I'm a bit of a chatter. And
Mm,
I figured out a way to do sign language when I was 10 or 11 to be able to talk to my girlfriends during the class, during math. And I just loved school. And the teacher
mm.
had to reprimand me and say, it's great you're doing this, but this could be cheating. This could be you're pulling
Wow.
back others. So, it didn't feel right going through that, which is probably why it's been easier for me in business to be able to collaborate and work well with others, is because I just didn't follow some of the rules in
Mm,
school. And stereotypically, a lot of women are rule followers. And yes, I did
mm,
try to achieve and got great grades, but the way I went about it probably wasn't the way normal studious people would do it, kind of
mm,
going outside the lines, doing things a little bit differently. Um, I, I think you have to, for this engagement, don't listen on how others think you should act or do things. Do it on how you
mm.
feel you should be doing it, and not get fired, right? Like
Uh-huh.
they keep saying, bring your authentic self and engage. We want to make sure we keep our jobs, or we keep, so
Yeah.
finding your boundaries is my first lesson. But engagement, network, get out there, do the sports, do the areas and learning that in your gut feel really right. I'll
Mm,
be a supporter of anyone that reaches out to me and says, I really want to try this out. Can we talk about it? And I think that's what women need, that safe space as much as men. But I'm
mm.
hoping to provide that just based on what I experienced in life in regard
Yeah.
to this. So, yeah.
And you mentioned very briefly music. So whenever somebody in L&D mentions music, my ears prick up because I have a theory about this. So what's
Okay.
your kind of, do you play an instrument? What's your involvement in music?
Yes, I read music before I read English. So
Ah,
I went to a Catholic school, and the nuns were just great. And I joke, it was the 70s, so I don't know where, like what type of nuns we got, but we had a great time. Yeah, we read the notes. I put them up. My kids, I play flute. I sang at my graduation in high
mm,
school and throughout. And it was competitive, which I loved. And
mm.
I just music drives me. I joke
Yeah,
that I like going to church, but I think only because I was singing at church. I don't know if
yeah,
others liked it as much as I did, but music. I think there is some connection too. I've met
yeah.
a lot of people. Elliot Macy's in musical Broadway. I worked with him when he was
Mm,
doing some of that. There's a mathematical angle to it as well.
mm,
And it's funny, I have another anecdotal thing, like you're checking in with music. I like to ask women who have played sports how many
mm,
of them are actually at the conference, because Forbes did a whole statistic on women that have played sport, not at Olympic level, just,
mm.
played sport. There's a grit and a resilience that you get from that, because you can't be good at everything. You have to figure it
Yeah.
out. And they say that 94% of C-suite women have played a sport in some way.
Oh, that's
So I'd love to
interesting.
help you at your stats. I wonder if we
Yeah,
all have
yeah.
some musical
That
hidden
that is
talents there. Maybe we
interesting.
should do karaoke at the end
Well,
of
I
the
see. I
conference.
was trying to set up. So I play at a jam session every Wednesday. So I'm playing at it later on. and we just completely freeform and make things up. And I just think, we don't like play other people's music. It's literally just composed in the moment, and everybody just plays and shapes, and it's just this beautiful metaphor of modern work, where people come together, they've got existing skills and they're trying to produce something together, and then somebody will start and it'll be a bit faltering, and then somebody else will come in, and then somebody will come out with, might be a bass line or the melody, or it might be a saxophone part, or it might be the drum beat, and then people just kind of coalesce around it, and then after a few minutes, wow, it sounds like it's a song that's been written, and I just think it's this lovely metaphor. So I was saying to Learning Technologies, why don't we have a jam band there?
Are you going to do it?
Well, they've been a little bit, should we say, less than enthusiastic about it, because some of it will be rubbish, and that's the point. It's not a performance. It's watching people work stuff out in real time. Anyway, let's get on.
All right, we'll go back to that later, though. If we see a band, bring your instrument. I'm not bringing my flute. That was never my forte, but
yeah. It'd be hard to bring my drums along anyhow. But, let's get on to the second E then. So tell us about that.
So educate. This one's kind of more basic. The engage is really driven where all these other go, but educating yourself, always keeping up to speed, educating, the ability to kind of just learn for the sake of learning, and then letting that kind of dictate what you might love, educate in regard to the areas that you're passionate about, and then maybe even some that you're not. And then most important is educating others, in my opinion. I just always had an attraction to working and coaching, and not in the traditional method, and I'm not going to go in like off-the-shelf e-learning or this or that, but the concept of education and learning is just always been a part of. I was a little geek loving school, but I hated tests. I hated that pressure to have to perform, even though I'm a competitor and things like that. And I think it was the way that you could get tested. My daughters, I had them take Arabic for 5 years, so I sat in the back, and I can see they were the only children that weren't 100% Middle Eastern taking Arabic. And the teacher was amazing. The way that she taught language wasn't strote memorization. It was like you understood sentences, you got things that work together. And my daughters, I have a drama queen, and one that just gets through it, and the drama queen started crying, and the teacher goes, "No test today. That's not what it's about. We're good." And I just think if we dive into, and I think of this with mandated training and compliance training, it's about changing behavior. It's about learning to love a language. One of my daughters just keeps upskilling herself, talking to her grandparents that live in the States here and wanting to learn more about it. And the other daughter was funny, is like, why aren't we bilingual? Well, Mom doesn't really, according to her dad, doesn't speak English very properly because I have a Boston accent and different ways of doing it, right? But it's just to see real educators, and I think you've probably come across some, and I think the industry, there's a lot of passionate, wonderful people in it, and I think we need to hang on to that. It's going to evolve. AI is coming into play. Technology is going to shift it, but the passion and the love to educate yourself and want to educate others is, I think, really, really meaningful and really important in life.
Yeah, I think we attract more than our fair share of good people, I think, to the learning and development industry, because if you want to devote your entire life to helping other people learn something that's going to make their lives better, you tend to be kind of a bit of a giver. So, I often say I think we're blessed with one of the lowest kind of a-hole ratings of all of the industries. There are a few, but by and large, people they're great. They want to help others. And I hope everyone can.
Yeah, you really hit something on the head there. And I just remember Ben Betts, when I was at Learning Pool, saying some of our solutions are changing lives. And I heard Henrietta share that, and I never knew this. I think I met her when she was at her first Elliott Macy. My first one was in 2001.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right after 9/11. And she said it was life-changing. And I just thought she was already established, I didn't think. And then you think back to your own life and your own career. And education is life-changing. We can provide that, right? And we can be a part of it, and our lives can change from it. So I agree with you. We have less on what did you call it, the a-hole rating?
A-hole rating, yeah, fairly low. I'm being polite here because we'd like young people to be able to listen to this podcast as well. So
I agree.
Very good. So let's move on to our third and final, well, our third lesson.
Okay, empower. I put this always in caps.
Mm,
This is what drives and feeds my soul is the ability, and I take it at all levels in regard to sports, being able to empower so that I was coached many of the sports, but most recently with fencing is not to need the coach with you because you're empowered,
mm,
although sometimes you do when you look, but
yeah.
feeling as though your learners in an organization are empowered. They don't need you to direct the facilitation all the time. You've
Mm,
empowered them with the knowledge, the tools, the resources to recall it, to have that changed behavior, to know when to ask. Maybe it's a question a day. Maybe it's they go on and they see a video of the sales enablement pitch and they're seeing
mm,
it from other voices and other places. But empowerment, even in life, is just so dang important.
mm,
With the Women in Learning initiative and having that hashtag and meeting Kate Graham many years ago and feeling
mm.
that, and she's one of your speakers too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Kate's fantastic.
the goal is to empower others.
Mm,
And I'm even going to take a little bit of our time here to say for women out there that want to get their life lessons heard or that can learn from that, hey, we can all empower each other by
mm,
talking on, areas like this. It's not always rosy and beautiful, but the
yeah.
empowerment side that never feels wrong. It feels great in business. It feels great in life if you have children and you're empowering them. If you're able to do some reverse mentoring as a 30 under 30
Mm,
or 30 over 30, we have to start empowering each other on this and
mm,
not fighting against something like that. I think it would be great if we could leverage some of your life lesson videos with
mm,
as many women sharing what they've had. I'm going to
yeah.
finish up going through the rest of them, and I keep looking forward to it. Kudos to you for having equal numbers. We don't typically
Yeah.
see that at conferences or with podcasts that you get equal numbers as to women who want to get their voice heard
Mm,
and learn from others in reaction to their voices. I think that's really, really important. I was looking at other life lesson videos, and one separate of learning just said that this woman had to deal with, sometimes people are very negative online or they just come at, and
mm,
the ability to
yeah.
not let that bother you and know where to get your
Yeah.
strength. So engage, educate, empower capital letters. That's how I've tried to do it in everything. And I think it's, I didn't think it was going to come back to me. It keeps coming up. I don't know when that whole thing started, but it's
Mm,
been over 10, maybe 15 years, maybe longer
yeah.
that just keeps popping up. So I said that's probably my life lesson then.
Well, it seems to clearly work, doesn't it? It's kind of powered you to where you are. I mean, on the subject of trying to have an even number of women and men on 3 life lessons, we really passionately want to do that. But something that we've noticed, and I think it's the reason that you mentioned there, to be a woman online and to put yourself forward online, women get a lot more flack online than men do. I think that's completely fair
Is there
to
stats
say.
on that? I don't.
I don't. I'm sure there are somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's noticeable when we ask men to be guests. It's much easier to get men to say yes than it is to get women to say yes. So I really hope that, Sharon, you can help and Women in Learning can help, because we want these fantastic stories from these incredible women, and to share those as widely as we can do. So yeah, that would be
Yeah, I
fantastic for
mean,
us.
women in the industry as well. I mean, I think I put a video out way back, got mixed reactions, but even just going through an exhibition hall before
Mm.
COVID, you could go through and just, I don't know how they got our names. You put your cards in, all of a sudden they started scanning tags, and it physically put women at like and men felt uncomfortable, but you're leaning over, you've got a name tag
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
and it feels weird. Can we not do what Disney's done and put it on a wrist? Can we
yeah.
not share our information differently? So online or in person, having an awareness of where people feel comfortable and how they do it. I think this vehicle that you have here with the life lessons, I did hashtag hang 10 videos during
Mm.
COVID to check in on people. And the enrichment that I gained from listening to others is something we
Mm.
can gain from your podcast here. That is the life lessons that I couldn't stop listening to. And I found that really, really rejuvenating. And I think for the women out there, the stats, we're going to do benchmarking. We're going to hear about collaboration and bridging and how to go across all that with the women that we have there. I think it would be amazing if we could get more on Rob's podcast and other podcasts. So reach out to either one of us and we'll make sure that you get on here. And my goal would be we can get this pulled together and have something to share at Learning Technologies. And even before that, maybe we have a conversation or we get a group together and we talk about it on International Women's Day, which isn't the only day you should talk about it, but it's not bad to celebrate on the day that's allocated.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Sharon, thank you so much. I knew your lessons would be fascinating. And I knew they'd be told with passion and with energy. So thanks again, Sharon. You've been a fantastic guest.
Well, I'll end it with touche. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed learning those 3 life lessons, then make sure that you like, subscribe and follow so that you never miss an episode.